Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Member Speaker Series. My name is Kate Gleason, and I'm the Director of Membership here at the Garden. It's so nice to see such a great crowd. I appreciate you being here. Is this anybody's first speaker series? A few. Good. Well, it's a good one to come to. We're so excited to have Christina Salwitz here today, who just traveled in, got in. Did you get in yesterday or Saturday? What day did you get in?
I remember now.
Sunday. Okay, so she's here with us. She's excited to get out into the garden and start taking pictures of our lovely garden. So I think there are many fantastic pictures, though, we're going to see from her first. Before I introduce Christina, I just want to talk about a few upcoming events here at the garden. The first is this coming Saturday, March 14th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's our annual Science Open House. So this is an opportunity. It's going to be located at our Bear Center, which is at the corner of Shaw and Vandeventer. This is an opportunity to meet our scientists and many of the folks who are out working on the Missouri Botanical Gardens behalf out across the globe. They're here this weekend to talk about their important work. Our herbarium will be open, our library will be open, which are both part of the Bear Center. So it's a great opportunity to see our work in action. It's also a great opportunity to give yourself a pat on the back, because many of the things that you'll hear about if you attend the open house are things made possible through dollars provided by members. So it's just a great opportunity to celebrate the work of the garden and meet some of our experts. So again, that's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. No reservations required. Just stop by at the Bear Center. Our next speaker series is always a popular one. It's going to be in combination with the Greater St. Louis Herb Society's annual sale. So the speaker series is on April 21st. That's a Tuesday at 11 a.m. We'll welcome back Ann Corey from the Kitchen Conservatory. Ann has done this program for several years in a row. She'll talk about the program is called Think Outside the Herb Container. So she's going to be talking about using herbs. As the owner of Kitchen Conservatory, obviously she does it with looking at recipes and looking at ways to use them in the kitchen. So I encourage you to make a reservation for that. Like today's program, that will be a popular one. So you can make your registration. You can stop at the member desk on your way out today. You can go online, or you can always call the phone number on the back of your membership card. The third thing I want to put a plug in for is our next exhibit, which is called Origami in the Garden. By now, everybody should have received your member bulletin, and you learn more about that exhibit. It's going to open on April 25th, and we'll be here for a while. It'll be on view through October 11th. For members, it's a free exhibit because it's included with daytime admission. There'll be about 20 installations of museum-quality large metal sculptures all over the garden. So you can see those during the day for free with your free member admission. We will also, starting on Memorial Day, have some origami evenings, and those are going to be half-price tickets for members, just a $7 ticket. If you are a festival level or above, those origami evenings are included with your membership. So construction is obviously started here on our new Jack C. Taylor Visitor Center, but we will not close during construction. We'll still continue to bring great programs like this. This space will be one that come next year we will not have, but we're going to get very creative with our speaker series. And of course, I'll keep you all posted on programs that will continue throughout the run of construction, which is expected through mid-2022. I'm going to knock on wood. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Christina. Just one other note, there will be a book signing to follow. The Gate Shop does have both of Christina's books in stock today, and she's happy to sign those after the talk today. Christina is the personal garden coach. She is a home garden training specialist, container designer, garden writer, speaker, and photographer. Before becoming a horticulturist, Christina began her career at Nordstrom's, where she was often recognized for her fresh ideas and strategies. After feeling the pull of the outdoor landscape, Christina became a horticulturist and quickly realized that her experience with the principles of fashion, marketing, and merchandising translated seamlessly into her new role working with people who love plants. While working as a merchandiser, buyer, and manager at an independent garden center for 25 years, Christina simultaneously honed her skills as a garden communicator, blog writer, photographer, and author of 2 gardening books, Fine Foliage, Elegant Plant Combinations for Garden and Containers, and Gardening with Foliage First. Along the way, Christina became the personal garden coach. Since 2008, Christina has consulted homeowners on their own garden challenges and has become recognized for her focus on container design, with her creations featured on the pages and covers of the nation's top garden magazines, books, and blogs. Christina translates garden speak into a language that gets people of all ages excited about achieving their gardening dreams. As I mentioned, the book signings to follow, and please welcome Christina.
Good morning, St. Louis. You let typhoid Christina leave Seattle and come here? I noticed the first row is a little empty. Had to give you a little bad time about that. Thank you so much for having me. It's really my honor to be here. I have a serious quantity of juicy slides. I was nearly in tears trying to decide which of my babies I should delete. And I was asking my husband, you do it, you delete it, I can't. And so I didn't. So there's a lot of juicy slides here. This is, in effect, really a celebration of foliage. Foliage is my happy place. I was telling my friend Tammy here from Maypop Garden Center, coffee shop, when we were having coffee yesterday, I said, when I was sitting, I hadn't had a vacation in 5 years, when I was writing the first book, and so desperate business owner, author, I said, you know what, Mr. Publisher, I don't care what happens, I'm going to Maui. And if the book ends up going into editing while I'm on the beach in Maui, I will happily edit on the beach. And so that is exactly what happened. I got a call about 5 minutes after I dropped my luggage at the hotel, and they said, yep, we're in editing. And I said, great. Went down to the beach. We're editing back and forth furiously, working to finish this book. And the first email I see while I'm sitting there working, oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional even about to say it, was that the book had been mentioned in the New York Times. And it wasn't even finished. And we were like, how'd they know? So my child and I, we went immediately to the tattoo shop. And I don't know if you can see my leaf. So yeah, foliage is my thing. It's my happy place. And so it's not to say that I don't love flowers, because I do. But foliage is just such an awesome starting point for design that I want to explain to you how I go about it. So this is our saying that we have for the book, Karen and I, my co-author Karen Chapman. Flowers are fleeting, but foliage is forever. And isn't that a great way to look at it? Because the problem that I find when I go to meet a new client is they'll say, I like red, and I like orange, and I like blue, and I like purple, and I like white. And then I have to stop them and say, you're referring to flowers, right? Just so we're clear, I just want to make sure. And then they'll kind of, like the dog, sort of cock their ears. Oh, yeah, you're right. That is what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's fabulous. It's important to know what you love. But what about the rest of the year? When the flowers aren't blooming, I want you to have something that when you want to just, go to Vegas at the end of January and get some heat, I want you to be able to pull in your driveway and really be proud of your January garden as much as you are of your July garden. In Seattle, I apologize in advance, that's much easier than it is here. And I realize that, believe me. I have to apologize for the first 20 minutes usually everywhere I go. Sorry, Seattle. But here's where we start today. And if you have never been to the Huntington Botanic Garden and Library, I highly, highly, highly suggest it. It is utterly spectacular. And I shot this. This is my favorite photograph of all time that I've ever shot. And it was a completely accidental photograph. I actually didn't even know that I got this shot until 6 months after I was going through, and I was re-editing some old photos. And it was pouring rain in LA that day, and this Seattle girl did not bring an umbrella or a raincoat or nothing. So, I was sitting here smooshed down, hiding under a tree when I snapped this shot, trying to stay dry. But the point of this shot is really to help you understand the scale and the drama of all kinds of foliage. I mean, there are some flowers here that are spectacular because January in LA is when most of the succulents are in full bloom. So if you do want to go to this garden, it's exceptional January, early February, right around then. It's a great time to be there. So this one just depicted, in essence, really what I wanted you to understand. But now I take you to Seattle. We don't shave our legs in Seattle, we just prune the moss. That's how that works. But I mean, really, this is just such an epic shot defining, just that big, beautiful, singular willow tree in its full glory just starting to leaf out. And another Seattle shot. They're not all Seattle. A lot of them are, but many are from across the country. But this one also, you know, the moss, that epically beautiful, soft, luscious green moss and that monkey puzzle tree right there with the green bench. Luscious and gorgeous. But the thing I want you to understand about using foliage in design and exploring foliage for your own unique style is that when you're looking at foliage, you can be looking at the exact same plant in two completely different ways, and the person next to you is seeing one thing and you're seeing another. And that happens all the time. And so I wanted to just profile that in a few ways here with these opening slides. This aeonium, Schwarzkopf, black rose, sometimes it's called. Sometimes it looks very, very black. Sometimes the foliage is very, very red. But you can see with this bright orange zigzag print fabric behind it how different that looks when you compare it to the same plant here. Totally different animal, right? Same plant, but this just has this shiny red pot behind it. So this foliage has a completely different feeling than it does in the last shot. Beautiful lily, right? This rich, rich, gorgeous burgundy with the burgundy foliage behind it. Monochromatic design in a very simple way. And how about this beautiful, beautiful agave with that rusty red leaf edge backed up by that beautiful rusty container. So it's amazing how different things can look depending on the light, depending on the background, depending on the friends that they're with. It's amazing. And so one of the things that I love the challenge of this because, you know, in Seattle, I've kind of got, you know, the upper 10% of the upper 10% on the Gold Coast. So I'm in Bill Gates' neighborhood where I work a lot, and it's very fancy people who live in a world that I don't revolve around. But one of the challenges that I love about that is sometimes gardeners get this perception about certain plants being a little pedestrian. Those are a little beneath me because I'm a collector. And I just love this this is like a grocery store, gas station Mahonia. This is like the least fancy plant ever on the planet in my area. And I show this slide and people are like, holy cow, what is that? I gotta have it. Let's get that. So it happens with the most basic plants. I want to elevate them and show how glorious they can be. Now there's the drama of plants too, right? Life and death drama in this particular case. Can you see one very interesting part about this photo? You see the piece of grass stabbing up through that epimedium leaf? I thought that was so fun when I discovered that in this photo. But this really shows you how, have you ever seen somebody who walks out of the house wearing like plaid stripes and polka dots and you're like, who let you out of the house wearing that? And then you see another person walks out of the house in plaids and stripes and polka dots and they're so chic. And you're like, how did they do that? Same thing with plants. I mean, we're looking at patterns and texture and drama with how we use leaves and foliage as well. Texture, 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 texture. It adds so much when you start thinking about what leaves in different colors and forms can contribute in such a small vignette space. This is in my backyard. This is actually my side yard. And my whole entire yard, because Seattle real estate, is it's a tiny little courtyard. And so I have these little vignettes. When you're up close on them, they're just perfect, but don't look from far away. And then we have the form of different foliage, right? All the different lines and shapes and drama that's created when you're combining different forms of foliage and creating rhythm in a space. Right? So we're not just making a painting for people to walk by, we're creating a vignette for them to interact with and look at from this angle and from this angle and from this angle. How about that? That was another accidental shot. It was really hot that day, and I climbed under this tree and I shot that, and then later on found it and I was like, wow. That's kind of fun. But I mean, the form of this spectacular old Japanese maple, we're talking in Foliage First, the second book, about thorns, berries, bark, twigs, and things like this beautiful trunk line that adds so much interest to your foliage-based garden. How about this beautiful bamboo? I just bought bamboo earrings yesterday at a store I was at. I was so excited to show the bamboo. The color and the beautiful erect stiffness of this, and yet the beautiful soft flowing foliage is such a gorgeous contrast when it's used well. And then you could have what I'm accused of all the time being too matchy, 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 matchy. But I love it. I love monochromatic and mixing textures this way. And so this is kind of a fun combination that I did, I think it was last year or a year before. And so you've got hypestes, and there's hardy fuchsia, and then this beautiful cordyline. So monochromatic with foliage here, I mean, I don't really necessarily feel at all, to me, like anything would be missing here. If that was all I had, and then that fuchsia started blooming, my life is complete. I'm happy there. Or fatsia, brand new fatsia spider web that's been out for maybe, 3-4 years, something like that. Little bit fussy, but so are many divas. But he's worth it, he's really good. And then backed up with that azalea doing her absolutely stunning winter foliage color. But now if you look at another fatsia, camouflage from Monrovia, totally different look, same azalea behind it, different time frame. Isn't that amazing? I love fatsia foliage, it's so dramatic. So containers are a fun way to show off your foliage. And I love having the ability to experiment in containers. That's really, I think, an inexpensive way to learn your style, learn what you like and what you don't like, learn about different plants' behaviors and what to expect, because you're not risking a lot in a small space when you use containers. And so this blue one here, this bowl, sits on a pedestal in my garden. And I like things closer up to eye level, so when you're walking by, it's just, right here where you can see the containers. So these pedestals are just lovely. But I also love the challenge of taking a weird pot that no one wanted, third mark down, furthest corner of the garden center. It's in the mud. I have to dig it out. But it's the challenge of working with something like that that I absolutely love. So what do you think? Did we pull it off with that pot? It's fun, right? It's like, I always wonder, can lightning strike twice if I did it again? But blue is such an amazing color in the garden, and we'll see a lot of blue. And so I love to figure out ways to work in blue, especially in gray climates like Seattle or where you have long winters. Blue is phenomenal, and you'd think, that might be a little drab in a gray climate. But actually what happens with blues of all kinds, whether it's pottery or plants or what have you, is that then when you bring the contrast of those other bold colors in July, August, the fall colors, it makes the blue just absolutely pop. It just makes the blue more blue. And so I have a client who loves all of her pottery that I work with is a beautiful deep oxblood red. It's just the most wonderful color to work with. And so I'm constantly adding blue into her landscape to contrast with this beautiful red. Whoops. So this particular shade of blue is one of the colors that we call harmonic. Okay, now the phrase just eluded me. It's harmonic colors is essentially the phrase. But what it means is that there's a group of colors that no matter what you put with them, always looks great. So I could do pink and yellow in this pot next year. I could do red, white, and blue. I could do black and white. I could do all kinds of things in this particular color of pot. And I have tried to find things that actually don't go with this particular color. And I have yet to find it. So if you ever want to get away from the grays, the beige, the gray, and the beige, this is a good way to go. There's several shades. I call it kind of the water tones of blues. Several shades of blues are so easy to work with in the landscape because they just kind of go with everything. Blue conifers. This is at Chanticleer. Have you been to Chanticleer? Put it on your bucket list. I'm going in the fall again, and it's utterly stunning. There's a beautiful book about Chanticleer out and available right now by a man named Dan Benerchick, who runs the garden, and he is just incredible. I just bow down to that man. And so this is at Chanticleer, and these blue conifers, these are a cultivar of Arizona cypress that I don't believe they make anymore. They make some different varieties. This one I believe is called Blue Pyramid. But Arizona cypress, if you're downwind of this tree on a hot August day, oh my gosh, the fragrance is to die for. It is so wonderful. It just smells fantastic. Big blue angel hosta. I mean, I could not live without this girl. She has to go everywhere with me now, no matter where I'm at. I got to start putting her in everywhere. She's about 6 feet across and maybe 4 foot high. And she flowers like a maniac. I mean, she flowers so hard, I actually have to go out and constantly be taking them off. But I love her texture and her bold blue with this hydrangea. And then here she is at the bottom of this empty vessel, in that same watery blue. Blue succulents, I mean, right there. She's just so pretty. And notice the color of the pot, right? It's absolutely just luscious. And this is a small enough pot that I can bring it in the wintertime, put it in my dining room window. It's happy, and then I can put it back out in the spring. I love this Senecio chalk fingers. Expensive, but really, really easy to replicate and grow from cuttings. Tremendously easy. And so this is at a botanic garden near me. And then I love the contrast. Blue and yellow are happy together on the color wheel, right? They're opposite friends. And so when we use our color wheel, understanding color, then this makes this real easy. I just love how it looks kind of like an underwater scene. Now these agapanthus, aren't those just glorious? But in your mind's eye, I want you to envision that with a completely not blue tree in the background. Would it look nearly as luscious and dramatic? I don't think so. So thinking about your backgrounds is so important. How you view, especially, I really want you to think about this, how you view things from inside. When your nose is pressed against the glass in January, you're like, I just want to go out and get in the garden. That's the view I want you to really be thinking about. When you pull up in your driveway, that's the view I want you to be thinking about. But especially from the inside out, because that's going to affect how you see things going forward. This is that beautiful blue angel hosta. This is actually a big painting I'm working on. I was just talking about that. I'm working on some real big scale paintings right now. And this is one I'm working on. It's going to be so fun. But I love the contrast of the lime and the blue. So thinking out of the box and how you can use foliage colors in different ways. Lime and blue together are a just gorgeous, elegant combination. And very contemporary, too. Unexpected. How about that? This is a funny story. This balcony right here is massive. The balcony real estate here that I do these pots, this is, I think, 27 pots on this balcony. Her real estate for this balcony is bigger than my house, let's put it that way. And she's on the 7th floor of this building in downtown Seattle, and she is literally overlooking the Pike Place Market. So when I'm out on her balcony, all I smell all day long is steak and burgers. And there's a restaurant right down below. And then the bacon fires up in the morning if I'm there. And I'm just constantly hungry. This building behind this pot, when I first started working on this balcony, was a hotel that was being refurbished. And it was wrapped in white plastic and scaffolding. I didn't even know it was a hotel. I just thought it was apartments or something. I had no idea. So she had needed a couple more pots, because 27, why not, you know? So I brought this pot because obviously my color, right? And she needed really low maintenance because this balcony is very, 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 very abusive weather-wise. This is directly facing Puget Sound. This is hot west facing, and the wind up there is insane. I actually gave myself a black eye pruning on this. My pruners were in my hand. A huge wind gust, massive, came up, and I went whack. And I mean, I was like, yeah, I got a black eye today. And then my husband's like, I will be seen with you nowhere. But the thing about this pot that was fun was that I'm just doing my thing. I'm arranging her art. My next book that I'm working on is about garden art. So I'm playing with her art and doing all of this, and so proud of my cute little pots that I've added. And then I come back in the fall to check on everything and to reset some things for her for fall. And lo and behold, here's this art on this building that I had no idea was coming. So I'm just flabbergasted, I can hardly speak. And I'm taking this picture, posting it on social media, and I'm just flooded with messages. Did you coordinate this with the artist? How did the artist know you were putting this pot there? Did you talk to the artist? Do you know the artist? I'm like, I don't know anything from anything. I'm just a little girl who does pots. That's all I know. And it turns out the artist came over to her balcony and said, I'm so inspired by your pots. Can I take this, from this angle? Found out afterwards. So yeah, I get a chill every time I think about it. I mean, what an honor. I mean, I wish I could remember the guy's name now, but it's terrible. But anyway, back to foliage. So even looking at this beautiful hardy begonia, this is in a botanical garden not far from me, with the sunlight coming through it, we're looking at the color echo of the veins on these. It's so striking. I don't care if she blooms. She's just rock and roll right here, just looking elegant and fashionable. So reds and oranges and sunset tones in the garden bring that sense of warmth with our foliage. And so this is early spring with the Japanese forest grass just emerging. But my favorite little pieris, Little Heath, she's just an absolute and total superstar because she's paying for herself to take up my real estate taxes, right? If I'm going to buy this shrub and bring it home and put it in the garden, girl, you got to pull your weight around here or you're out. And then some of them I'll kick them when they walk by. I'm like, you're not up to snuff here. Let's do some things. So they have to have more than one reason of performance, usually, to make it into the garden. So Little Heath, look at, she puts out this absolutely gorgeous orangey bronze new foliage growth. Then she blooms. Then that color fades back, and she's this lovely white variegation the rest of the season. And so with that heuchera right there, that's low maintenance. I mean, this is I've done nothing except let them do their thing, and they're a happy little triad. Fancy begonias in this setting with those beautiful russet tone colors. I know this pot is a little bit hard to tell, but this is one of those oxblood red pots I was telling you about. But with the jasmine and that beautiful red Caroline potato vine, the colors just work. Now, can you imagine this scene without that massive heuchera? And so the thing I want you to be thinking about is maybe you don't use this massive heuchera, but what could you do to replicate this same idea that works for your style and your color preferences? Sometimes looking at things in different ways, different combinations of colors, unusual foliage colors, intensity of color together, black and gold, rich and lustrous, and unexpected, right? In a black pot, no less. One of my favorite shots. Isn't that fantastic? I don't know if you guys have the same problems with barberries that a lot of the country do, so I apologize in advance, but we don't have any of those issues. So we have barberry everywhere because of the deer and rabbits and all that good stuff. But this beautiful gold pillar mixed with this epimedium, and then you can see later on the beautiful flowers that will be emerging later. Gorgeous. There's Little Heath again, that pieris I was just mentioning, starting to turn more bronze and fading back to its white variegation. But look at it against that Rodgersia. Absolutely big, bold against fine texture. Those textures together are just absolutely lovely. And the Rodgersia in the back, he's getting lots of moisture. That's why he's so happy. And the pieris is like, I'm just happy to be here. How about that? Begonia luxurians in a pot. This is from a collector's garden that I was shooting for a magazine. And so she babies this big begonia all the time and brings it in and brings it out. But again, with those caramel-colored heucheras bringing out those beautiful stems on that begonia, your eye just goes right to the pot color and the color on those leaves. This is one of the shots in the book. Lord knows once you write a book, your brain kind of goes to mush, and I forget half the English language and Spanglish and all those things, and so cannot remember what page this is on, but it is in one of the books. And I love this color combination. It's extremely contemporary and sophisticated and unexpected with little ballerina white primroses. So that's something you could even do right now. How about that? Nothing to it. Fancy geraniums and fancy ferns together. Or if you like buttercream, sometimes that rich, rich dose of beautiful, soft, creamy buttercream. If you don't like those acidic, intense colors, maybe this is more to your liking, this beautiful iris. And I love it with this fancy primrose at the base and the lavender. Lavender and pale yellow, right? Easter colors, especially the timing. And then taking that same pale, soft yellow here with the akuba, and then the Japanese forest grass down below. How about silver? Speaking of pedestrian, this is one of my most favorite cheapo plants on the planet. This is senecio, and a lot of you might see regular Dusty Miller with the more fine filigree leaf. This is my favorite version of that plant. This is called Senecio cirrus, Cirrus, and it's a much broader leaf. Same price, essentially, as the smaller Dusty Miller. But the thing I like about this is that if you take this, $3, $4, $5 plant, depending on the size that you get, and you put this out in the landscape at the base of some of those boring shrubs for the summer, and it goes through fall, and it's this amazing silver uplight that takes no love, you got your money's worth, didn't you? Even if you just rip it out when it looks ratty. Way better than some boring old petunia. You're getting that light at night and that beautiful silvery color that is hard to replicate with very many plants that are hardy. So in containers, like I said, this is where you get to play. This is where you get to experiment. This is where you get to try the stripes and the plaids or the polka dots and the different patterns together. But that African mask tropical plant with that beautiful Rex begonia, and then the unexpected shot of lime. Hot, intense kiwi coleus right there, making this entire display just kind of come to life. And then up above we have the black, they changed the names of these plants, and I just refuse to play along most of the time. Coleus is going to be coleus forever. I don't care if you want to call it solenestimum. I'm calling it coleus. This is Actea, and I cannot remember what they renamed it to, but I think this is black negligee. And so this foliage is not quite as black as it would ordinarily be, but the flowers on this Actea smell like old-fashioned grandma's roses. They're fabulous. And this is a very hardy perennial. I don't know about hardiness here, but I think it would be okay. How about that? How about for you classicists in the audience who say, I just want the elegance of green and white? Apparently, in certain parts of the Northeast, that's all you're allowed to use. I'm told over and over and over. Maybe if somebody's really getting crazy nutty one day, they might put a pop of lime in there. Maybe. They're really edgy if they do that, though. But I love this. This is drama. Sky pencil ilex with this beautiful, beautiful ribbon grass. Aggressive, aggressive grass, beware. But you could use something like a miscanthus morning light in its place if you wanted to have the same effect. Now, how about that? I can't grow these in Seattle, but I love the effect of that white. And if you like high contrast color, that's a gorgeous way to get it. Big, showy highlight here. Brunnera. Anybody grow Brunnera? I love Brunnera. It just goes and goes with the blue flowers and the foliage. It's so forgiving. I just love this plant. And there's so many different wonderful hybrids of it that are fantastically easy. But I love this combination, especially as it gets later in the season when the beautiful little cornice ground cover starts to change color a little bit, because it just makes that silver even more silver. And so that's what I'm talking about, is those seasonal changes that the foliage brings to highlight other plants. There's another variegated pieris. This pieris is called Flaming Silver. And she, I don't know why she's a she, but she's a she. And Flaming Silver is one of my absolute go-to landscape plants. Again, I'm not quite sure about the hardiness here, so I'm just throwing that out there in case you can think of a substitute that might work for you. But Flaming Silver comes out with its new growth in the most spectacular hot coral. Bright hot coral. She's just about to do it right now. She might be doing it right when I get home. I know she was close. Heavy, heavy bloomer, but I love that hot coral with a heuchera like that one in a berry tone. Beautiful, beautiful color combination. And then echoing, the color echo from the foliage of the pieris over to that grass, the carex. This is Carex Everest, one of my all-time favorites. If you've ever had Carex ice dance and you put it over here and now it's in your neighbor's yard 5 miles away, this is your substitute for back-breaking, ripping out ice dance. You will be so happy. Look at that. Isn't that a spectacular little puzzle of foliage? So all this gardener did, this is a friend's garden down in Portland, all this gardener did below those beautiful spiderweb fatsias is he just injected a couple of these fancy begonias. And you could do that with so many other plants that make you equally as happy for the kind of colors that you're looking for. But the beautiful little lime heuchera down below just absolutely highlight that. This is a fun one because this fern looks an awful lot like parsley, doesn't it? And I'm trying to remember, I think it might be called parsley fern. I don't take my word for that because there's a lot going on in here right now. But I mean, look at the pulmonaria around this fern. There's 2 different flavors of pulmonaria here. This beautiful solid silver foliage and then the polka dots up there. Texture, texture, texture. How about that? Beautiful. Those are cinnamon ferns. I just happened to be at the Botanic Garden the day they were doing this beautiful thing, and to me it just looks so ghostly. It's so beautiful because they're just this absolutely nearly pure white for like a week, and then they unfurl, and then later on they're going to have the beautiful cinnamon colored tips on them that are so spectacular. Very, very, very showy, hardy in a small space. But containers, I'm a big fan. I mean, they're easy, they're mobile, you can change them out on a whim, they show your personality, your design aesthetic. But more than that, if you're really into edibles, or you like making herbal concoctions, like I make lavender gin at home, and this is lemon thyme up here in this pot, and so I make lemon thyme vodka. So the party at my house is very herbal. But just to show you, I mean, this is about the combination of the pot, the texture of the plants, and also having something edible in the pot if you choose to. It's very, very easy and functional. This is literally right outside my front door on a little table. And then there's this one. This is a $20 plastic little nursery bowl you've all seen 100 times. But I was having fun with all the lettuces, the lettuce starts. So if these are violas that are, organically raised, you've got your salad and your little decorations all in one place, right? And you just keep picking a leaf out of this thing, and look how pretty that is. How about those? So that lime color in there, that's butter lettuce. So you've got butter lettuce, and then you've either got, I can't remember whether it's dill or fennel in there. I think it's bronze fennel. But I mean, that's a way to have your fennel contained so that it's not going everywhere. But isn't that a gorgeous combination in those blue pots? Absolutely inspiring. So edible foliage can be spectacular when you think about it. Yesterday when I was at the Maypop garden shop, I was looking and showing the little multi-packs of giant red mustard. Absolutely spectacular. There's a shot that I wasn't able to include at Chanticleer that shows those purple mustard leaves this big. And if you like mustard leaves to eat, That's a great thing in the garden, as long as the dog's not peeing on it or something, but those would be bigger than my dog, as you'll see in a minute, but those mustard leaves are just spectacular. And so in that vein, I would be like, why would I use coleus when I can use this? Kale, hottest thing around, right? Everybody wants kale. So here we are using kale as the centerpiece of this little hippy-dippy-trippy pot. Fun. This little blueberry, I think if I recall, I think it's a top hat. A little dwarf blueberry, tiny, 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 really tiny. I mean, that pot's only 12 inches across maybe. And so this foliage on this blueberry up at the top is just gorgeous. It's just leafed out, it's getting ready to berry, and it's got this beautiful kind of a pale blush of red on it right now. And then all I literally paired it with was this little teeny, teeny, tiny ivy, which I've never been able to find since, and I'm in love with it. So I'm trying to grow more cuttings at my house. But this is a matched pair at my front walk, loaded with blueberries. I mean, seriously, not kidding, loaded. You could hardly see the plant for the blueberries. And so I was kind of intending, like, hey, little kids coming from the bus stop, feel free, whatever. Anybody walking by, if they want a blueberry, there's plenty. But a pair of these pots at the front door. And so when you see this in spring, it's lovely, it's handsome, it's easy, it's low maintenance. It's not, uber dramatic or anything. But then in fall, that's the baby. I'm pretty sure I love her more than my husband. If you want to see more pictures of her, she's kind of famous on Instagram. She has her own hashtag. Her name is Circe, and she came to us named that by the rescue operation we got her from. We didn't know what the heck she was. Turns out she's very fancy. Talk about looking like your dog. When we go places, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm that woman. But I refuse to wear the carrier. I just won't do it. I would if I could get away with it. But she's a Papillon long-haired Chihuahua mix, it turns out. So her hashtag on Instagram, since she's named Circe, her hashtag is Dame of Bones. And Princess Buttercup Squirrel Fox. So edibles can look glorious in pots. How you use them is all that matters, You want to make it to your design aesthetic. These are just, mulched with gravel in very contemporary zinc bins. Nothing fancy here, but big, bold, showy, and dramatic, right? There's Chanticleer. And I wish I could show you the red mustard shot, but this was too good. My eye goes straight to those fantastic black violas in the center. But that foliage of the lettuce on either side is stunning. And they were using lettuce the way you'd use bedding in patience. It was spectacular. Red lettuce, gold lettuce, lime lettuce, all the lettuces, the mustard. It was absolutely beautiful. So why not use those kind of plants if you like edibles in the garden? How about that beautiful Swiss chard up there? If you like party colors, I mean, boy, we've got it. How about those party colors? They're starting to come on. These beautiful Abconica primroses, but I just want to go pet that Rodgersia. I'm like, oh, you're a good boy, keep doing it. I just love this combination of the bronze and pink together. Or how about the new growth on the completely pedestrian spirea, magic carpet, cheapo plant, everyday plant, hardy as can be, nothing hurts it. It's easy, it goes with everything. It flowers twice a year if you shear it back in mid-season. This epically beautiful orange new foliage fades to a pale, kind of a lemon yellow, and then you get the fall color. I don't know what more I can do for you. How about that for party colors? Expensive but doable. I mean, heucheras, not totally cheap plants, but they divide beautifully right now. Right now is the time to divide them. You don't have to be gentle, you don't have to be nice, you rip them apart and jam them back in. It's wonderful. Don't tell the breeders I said that. Or how about these party colors? There's our Aeonium Schwarzkopf again. But this is at the Huntington Botanic Garden where they're like that big instead of that big. And here we are at the RHS Wisley Garden where they use this same heuchera to bring the color echo of that Japanese maple in the background together. So think about tying those far scenes together with foliage color, as well as the scenes that are up close to you. Subtle, huh? It's not a dramatic garden at all. But, I mean, this is just stunning. So I'm looking at those warm terracotta tones. The beautiful, beautiful red coleus way up high that draws your eye up. And then those rich, rich greens. What does your eye go to here? This rheum, this ornamental rhubarb. You could use regular rhubarb in the same way. It's very beautiful. Rheum, on the other hand, is kind of a little different animal. This, looking at this, just like those begonias, it's much prettier if you're looking at it from underneath. The top of it is kind of an army green color. It's a very subtle green, so if you wanted to go for more of those bronze tones, it's perfect, and that's why it works out so beautifully with those astilbe and foxglove and all of those plants. Monet's Sunset Weigela. Weigela is wonderful. Hardy, no rabbits, no deer, no real pests of any kind, and this one's only 18 inches by 18 inches. But her fall color is gorgeous, and the hummingbirds love the flowers. Easy, easy, and dramatic foliage plant. And then up at the back, it's paired with Itea, Little Henry. So we have an offset of different bloom and different foliage colors as well. Succulents. This is the same herb pot that you saw with the lemon thyme right outside my front door. I didn't water this, I think, for 3 months. And then I walked out in my jammies to get the mail, and I was like, oh, forgot about you. And then I was like, hey, babe, you're looking kind of good. Let's get a shot. I think it was October, maybe, so not too bad. Undercover where it's staying dry. Party colors, once again, beautiful, beautiful, rich, colorful cordylines here, making way for these lovely kangaroo paws that are fun tropicals. But here you go, drama in those similar color tones, right? Beautiful, beautiful textures together. Very, very simple. Sedum Autumn Joy, Sedum spectabile, doing her fall thing, or kind of late summer thing, I should say. And then you have the seed heads of the crocosmia that were blooming, and they're this lovely orange color. And I love orange and pink together. It's such an energetic combination. But here, this beautiful red twig dogwood that's actually midwinter fire. It's that coral orange color. I just love that color. Backed up by this euphorbia that's a silvery blue and white. So it really, really makes that plant show even more as it goes into its fall color. Black and white drama. If you like contemporary style, if you like modern style, if you're into the tropicals, into the houseplants a little bit more, something along the lines of this is going to give you some of that flavor. Nothing here terribly hard to get, but so dramatic in a small space, right? Right in your face. Does anybody feel like anything's missing here? No flowers, but it's okay, right? We're all right with it. And then if you're feeling moody, the moody black foliage, some people get intimidated by that. I mean, you can see I'm not exactly subtle, quiet and shy. So this energizes me. This gets me excited. I love this combination of the black foliage. And then you have the gold smoke bush in the background. Or how about this view? That's Italian tree heather in the front. And I've just kind of discovered this plant in the last couple of years. It's, I'm trying to think of the botanic name. I could be wrong, but I want to say Estrella, maybe? It's similar to a few other vertical heathers that are so luscious. But this one I never expected to live in the garden, and so I put them in the containers, and then I kind of transplant them out into the garden in spring and cross my fingers. And so far, they've been making it really well. They're much hardier than I imagined that they would be, so it was a fun experiment. How about that one? Little tiny bowl on a little tiny table, and yet a lot of drama packed into a small space. Fancy bromeliad up there at the top, and when the light shines through that bromeliad in the evening, it is absolutely stunning. And then you have the pilea on the right. I always get that one mixed up. Pilea, right? on that one, that silvery one? Yeah, exactly. There's two that I mix up all the time. We were just talking about that last night. But this metallic foliage against that bromeliad is just spectacular. This one is at an entryway at a client's house. The house is black, the pot's black. The entryway is dark as night. It's practically like that. You wouldn't believe what I had to do to get this pot to even show in this photo. But what's hilarious was I was like, oh my gosh, I better make this all about color and texture and drama, because there's no way flowers are going to live here. There's just no way, unless it's, you know, fake flowers or something. But what I wanted to tell you is, look at the little hinoki cypress at the top. It's like Charlie Brown tree. I was at the Ace Hardware store looking for, I don't know, gloves or fertilizer or some such thing, and I always wander out to look, you know, like who's in need of rescue. And so there was 6 of these on a table, all of them like that, and I'm like, putting them on the cart, I'm like, come on guys, we're making a break for it, let's go. And so notice that it is leaning away from the light. So my intention is to have it leaning towards the light, hopefully at some point in the future. If not, I'll stake it. But I thought it was kind of cute that way. So how about annuals? I mean, I love annuals because I'm a foliage girl and annuals are cheap and easy to get a hold of and they're fun to experiment with. This pot, while I was finishing the last book, was right outside my sliding door. And so the hummingbirds were having World War III over this pot outside. And so it's like, I'm writing and then I'm like, oh, he's gonna get him. Oh my God, did you see that? You know, I was not getting anything done that whole last chapter. But when you look up close at some of the combinations, again, it's like the stripes and the plaids together, or the different veining that you can play with those different foliage colors. So strobilanthes, that Persian shield, always so elegant, such an epically perfect purple that you cannot find in almost anything else, and then paired with the black stockings coleus. I love this combination. Blue fescue, little annual euphorbia in the middle, and the top, do y'all know what that is up there? Alternanthera. Say that 3 times fast. Alternanthera. It's like your alternator on your car. But it comes in a few different forms, and I believe this one is maybe Purple Prince. So fantastic. It's going to be with the other kind of fancier annuals in the garden center usually. It's going to look real small when you buy it, and it's going to be spectacular by the end of the season. So it's a good one to try. How about that one? A hibiscus that we don't care if she blooms. I don't remember the name of this one, but it's a hibiscus that's made by proven winners. And I love the combination of that wine with that coleus in the background. That one is, I believe, Campfire. And it has all kinds of purple undertones in that coleus that just blend those two together magically. And then here we are with another coleus, Angelonia in the center, and then beautiful black potato vines on the bottom. Now what's interesting about this is, you know, you can use potato vines as a ground cover for summer. Yeah, it's fabulous. Nobody bothers it. It's very dramatic and showy. And one plant's going to cover like 800 acres, so you're good. And then oxalis. Look at this, trifolium. Trifolium is, this is a kind of a newer one. There are 3 or 4 named hybrids that all came out about 3 years ago in this trifolium series, and I absolutely adore every single one. They're dramatic and inexpensive and fabulous. So here we are back again at some of these kind of tertiary colors, these sort of off colors that are not very traditional. And we've got that beautiful bronze Rodgersia in the center ribbon there. And then you've got the bronze of the astilbe foliage on the bottom just emerging. And you always know, if you see an astilbe that's emerging this color, that's telling you that the flowers are going to be red or a deep pink. So the foliage is always going to give you a hint of what the color is going to be. Big, beautiful, not artichoke, but cardoon, exactly. Have you ever eaten cardoon? It's really awesome. Yeah. You just take the leaves and you peel all the leaves and the ribs off like you were cutting celery. You cut it up like celery and saute it. It's awesome. Cardoon, C-A-R-D-O-O-N. And then it's going to put out the beautiful artichoke-type flowers. It's a tremendously, graphically big, giant plant to grow. But I love the color combination of the silver and the lemon. That's very contemporary, very modern. Here we go on my side yard again, where you were seeing earlier the texture, but I wanted to kind of show the color combination here. And then beautiful, fancy maple tree. This one, I believe, is Alaska Sunset. And here we are, silver and yellow again. Pulmonaria. I learned something very interesting from my co-author recently about pulmonaria. It takes way more sun than we ever thought that it did. So I moved it to a sunnier spot with these succulents, and it's been going crazy. And we just divided all the pulmonaria at one of my homes last week, and they're already taking off and going crazy along the edge of the driveway, which is not where I would think that they would be happy, but they're just wonderful. So anything blue, silver, gray, or fuzzy is usually inherently drought tolerant. So that's always a good guideline to go by. So what if you have really dramatic pots, but you're not sure what to do with them, right? These are not my pots. These are at the Atlanta Botanic Garden. And I just fell in love with this combination of Papa Mama baby pots. And they did a lovely job in them. They're beautiful. But I mean, the pots themselves are so showy. So you want to be thinking about, wow, if you have a really showy pot like that, you're not necessarily going to be able to put red geraniums in it as a standard. So that's something you want to be thinking about. But here is another pot that they did that I just love. It's so elegant and luscious and showy and yet very subtle at the same time. Or how about this collector, right? Very, very contemporary sense of taste. Her basement, she doesn't have any children, and so her husband and she this is their full-time project. And this is only like a third of it now, it's less than that. And they haul all of these into her basement every year. It's called, if you want to look it up, it's worth looking up. It's called the Danger Garden. And I did leave bleeding, literally, because it's all plants with like pokey things. So blood running down your leg, It's gorgeous though. Similar combination again with that pale buttercream yellow mixed with that beautiful bluey silver toned Euphorbia rigida. And then just clipped boxwood, taking that basic elemental shape and adding drama to it. This is one of my favorites. This one on the far left is a Hebe, which I love because it's just this weird army green. But it gets big, he's so handsome. I think his name is James Sterling, maybe. And then Leucothaway rainbow, starting to do its rainbow thing, and then a blue star juniper. Interesting combination of colors. And here we are with Striptease hosta with her almost watercolor effect and that stripe that's so mellow in here, with the fuchsia in the center and the beautiful Millennia grass and silver ferns up above. How about that using annuals? New Guinea impatiens. The bedding pack impatiens with all the mildew problems right now, they're working so hard to try and find new impatiens that are mildew resistant. The New Guineas seem to be fine so far. And then they've also got the sun patiens, which I believe they're finding to be totally resistant, if I recall correctly. So this was in Atlanta, and I just love this pattern combination. Or Astelia in this beautiful, rich, deep bronze color, accented with the annual and the little lemon and all these other textures together. Beautiful little close-up vignette, and then when you look further away, you see more detail. Isn't that lovely? It's so fresh and different. And then here in this scene, I wanted to show you how we're looking at this beautiful, beautiful, giant epic foliage on the left, or on the right. But then to the left of it, you've got a rhododendron called ebony pearl, which the foliage goes almost completely black in the winter. In the summer, it's a lovely kind of army green, like that Hebe we were just looking at. But really, what makes this combination is that you're looking into the distance at that silver, beautiful senecio in the background. And that's not the cirrus we were talking about earlier, but that's exactly the use of it that I was talking about before. How about purple? Maybe purple's your thing. Somebody the other day said, I just refuse purple. I don't do purple. I don't know if she had a thing about Donny Osmond or like, I don't know what it was, but she was not having any of it. Purple was not going to happen anywhere near her, no way, no how. I find most people to be the opposite. Most people are like, how can I get more purple? So this is a lovely way to do it with the smoke push paired with the Japanese maple. Or how about in a container? You know, one of the things I really pride myself on is that I like taking baby things and growing them in pots for a while, transplant, transplant, transplant. And so I bought this little 9-bark. This is a little, I don't know, maybe $12 1-gallon shrub. But this particular group of 9-barks had the most spectacular bud color and foliage color that I had seen in forever. Like, I don't know what the grower was feeding them, but they were stunning. So I had these really heinously ugly pots I had to use up. And you can't see it here, but they were awful. And this one ended up the cover of a magazine, much to my, I was like, really? Okay. But this is a great way to take an inexpensive plant, grow it on for a while, and then get it out in the landscape. So here, the beautiful, beautiful Joe Pye weed with the burgundy flowers in the background. I mean, hard to go wrong there if you're trying to get more of that color. But purple, 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 maybe this Derby iris is your thing. He comes up this rich emperor royal purple, and then he fades as the warm weather comes and he turns green. So he's epically handsome in the springtime. There he is with the Ibconica primroses. Or how about this beautiful eucomis, beautiful pineapple flowers that come up that look like pineapples, but that foliage is just stunning. And I believe this garden was amazing. I shot here, this tiny little garden, I shot here for about 8 hours. I think that's cram cordifolia in the background, but I love this combination together. So dramatic, right? You gotta stop and go, what the heck is that about? There's this similar pineapple, eucomis, just different color combination, but highlighting it with the beautiful trailing plants around it and combinations of colors. And I don't know if you've ever used this plant before on the lower right, but that's a basil. And it goes by a few different names. I see it most commonly as Magic Michael, and it's massive. I mean, massive, like that big. And so I put them in pots oftentimes at clients' back doors to use for cooking or cocktails or what have you. But it's right there at the back door. And talk about bee heaven. Like, they love this. So purple, again, color echoes. We're looking in the distance here. We're looking in the foreground and carrying the color through the scene with the foliage wherever we can. Bloodgrass, beautiful Concord grape barberry carrying that color. And then notice the violet pot in the background. Those pots that were there previously were snow white, and they were dirty and broken and chipped, and it was just depressing every time I went to plant them. So I said, can I buy some new pots? And she says, yeah, sure, go ahead, do whatever. And I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, go for it. And I'm like, okay, because I'm gonna like get a little crazy on you, because I found these pots I have to have. You know, third Marktown discontinued color, you can't find them anymore, but I gotta have them. And so I got this luscious violet pot. But I'll tell you, it turns out it goes with everything. It's another one of those colors, those universal harmonic colors that just goes with everything. It is the most fun pot to play with. There's a magazine photo shoot coming out of this garden, like any minute, Garden Gate magazine. So I'm waiting for the email for them to say that it's out. So this garden is going to be profiled with 2 others that I did that year. Purple foliage drama. Astilbe, heuchera, silver fern there hiding in the center. Or how about that Japanese maple shining with our ubiquitous and pedestrian spirea. This pot, beautiful pot, same spirea down below. Japanese maple. This is the pot that I celebrated my birthday with. That was my present to myself. It's like this big. Lemon. I love lemon. I think we were super hungry the whole time writing Foliage First. And so many of the names of the combinations are food related or cocktail related. And so this is one of the plants that we like to use often. This is a sedum spectbile. It's either Autumn Glory or Autumn Torch. I think it goes by a couple names, but it's so showy. And then here's an edible combination again. Blueberry at the top, lemon, thyme, and showing that chartreuse heuchera there for that beautiful lemony color. Smoke bush with the light coming through it, used so beautifully here. Full bloom, just looking glorious. So if lemon's your color, adding the art sometimes is the way to go to get that. A little piece of glass, a little bit of foliage goes a long way. Or how about a pine? Beautiful, golden, expensive as heck. Chief Joseph, if you can get your hands on one. They grow very slowly, but they're stunning. I saw one in Michigan that was about 6-8 foot tall, and it was just spectacular. But I love this pieris behind it, showing the color echo of the buds on the pine and the pieris together. Hardy fuchsia, one of my favorites. Hummingbird wars are my thing. And then I love this one. Now this was one I did for a magazine, that rubber plant on the top there. That was the superstar along with that Brunner in front, tying this combination together with the pale yellow of that tricolor rubber plant, which was just a house plant after that, and I brought it inside and rescued it. Or how about this one? This shows this beautiful stoplight heucherella in 2 stages. Down below, and you see one of my pedestals there. Down below, you see the old winter color, that beautiful russet tone, and then you see it springing to life with its beautiful golds and reds and burgundies in it later. Or how about that? This was pots I had on my front porch. There was a photo shoot. It was like 95 degrees, which you don't get that often in Seattle. And I was mad planting because I was hot. And so these were all the leftover plants from the photo shoot. And I was like, I don't even care anymore. I'm cramming them all in together. And then I got it all done. I was like, okay, it's weird, but it works. And tying it together with some of the things on the bottom made it all right. But I love that black pearl pepper in the center. You could eat it, but you wouldn't want to. It'll take your head right off. Or how about this? Tying some of the colors together with the garden art. My girlfriend is an epically talented designer, and she's a great collector of garden art. So she feeds my passion very well. This is also her garden. Look, isn't she an artist? I mean, talk about party colors, right? That's intense. And here we are, party colors again, with this beautiful, beautiful agave leading your eyes straight up to this banana. Or this one. Do you know what this plant is on the left with the variegated foliage? It's a variegated pineapple. Who'd have thunk it, right? But look at it with that little annual whose name just escaped me. I can't remember her name. Oh, Gomphrena, coming out with these long wands of color with that pineapple. So unexpected and dramatic. But it's just a party in a small space, isn't it? Just like this, tricolor sage. Just like sage you would use in cooking any day, backed up by this beautiful nandina. Oranges and pinks and sunset tones together. How about that? Little saxifrage ground cover, so easy. This beautiful purple velvet heuchera. There's a pot, that was the blue pot that we saw in the opening shot. Same spot, different combination. And then there's another one showing some of those big, bold foliage colors. And really, the only flowers you're seeing here is that little bit of lobelia and that pink begonia hiding on that one side that's a little hard to see. Otherwise, it's just a party in a small space. Or here we go. See, obnoxious like me. That's my house. Subtle, quiet. My husband opens the door. He's like, yeah, it's nice. But I got this pot, this beautiful copper pot. So I got the copper pot, a pedestal, and one other one. And when people find out you're going to be in a magazine, they like offer you all kinds of free things. And so this company was like, hey, if we can get our shots in the magazine, we'd love to offer you a bunch of free stuff. And I was like, for real? For real? You'll send me stuff? And so I picked these 3 pieces out of their catalog, and this palette shows up. And then all of a sudden it occurred to me, I can't have them where anyone can see them from the road. So they're like hiding, stuffed in my backyard, because if somebody's going to come and strip a house for copper wire, they're going to make off with those in a heartbeat, right? How about this? That's not dramatic at all, is it? But it takes your eye right up to that stunning banana. And here, I wish you could see the before of this section, because this is one of my favorite gardens that I work on. And this lovely woman had a pot. It was a fiberglass pot, peeling, breaking, leaning at its side with a dead maple potted in it, also leaning. I was like, I think you deserve better. Call me crazy. So this is what we did. How about that? That one's in the book too. That's one of my favorite spots. I mean, talk about a party of texture, a party of color, depth, scale, drama, form, all the things we've been talking about, right? There's that beautiful senecio we saw in an earlier shot. And more texture and drama. And how about that euphorbia? This is what she's doing right now. She's like, don't you dare walk by me, because you've got to come by and get this shot and ooh and ah over me, or I'm going to seed all over your neighbor's house. And how about that? Everyone asked me if I planned that. I did not. I walked out in my jammies one morning, and there she was. I was like, okay, we gotta prove this to the world that I saw that. But here's my front walk. So this is a combination of foliage to keep the dogs out of the beds. It smells nice, it's low maintenance, nobody bothers it, it's easy, it's colorful, it's dramatic. And a beautiful fall, late season pot. Leucothue rainbow, beautiful, beautiful little Lonicera twiggy, one of my favorite plants. And she is turning color right now, and that's the close-up of that combo. You see how those colors harmonize as the weather starts to get colder and those colors get more dramatic? How about that for fall? That is not your standard, expected fall combination, is it? That's what I love about it. How about that? I was doing this for a builder's house. It was like late October, and there's no plants. There's like nothing I could find really to do this. And so the builder is a dream to work with. I show up, he's got pedestals already made, he's got the pots, he's got water lines, and they're full of soil. Who does that? I'm like, can I work for you every day? So I can just show up and diva my way around the garden and just put pretty things in instead of getting muddy and hauling things. And so this is what my answer was under this beautiful front porch light. So it kind of looks like fire from a distance. Isn't that fun? How about that? This is how I see fall. Obnoxious as hell. I mean, you can have the standard reds and oranges, obviously, but I just want you to think out of the box just a little bit. Just twist things just a hair and see what you come up with for your own creativity. Whoops. How about this osmanthus? This is a wonderful one from Monrovia called something rascal. Little rascal? I don't know. Rascal something. But this foliage turns beautiful chocolate. I mean, chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. It's stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous. So as winter comes on, this foliage is changing, and those are the kind of things I'm looking for. Multiple personality in order. How about that? Just one darn thing in a pot. This is a cypress called whipcord. Beautiful when the wind blows. Lovely collector's conifer, just beautiful. And they make this in a standard now that is absolutely stunning. It just looks like kind of a bad hair day on a stick. It's fun though. But see, this is kind of where most people are going for fall in their brains when they think foliage, right? Japanese maples, reds and oranges and yellows. I'm leaning a little bit towards the yellow here because it's the more unexpected. It's the more non-traditional that I like. Thinking out of the box. Or how about that? Fall, windy, rainy, stormy day. I was out at this garden in Oregon. Just gorgeous. But here is what illustrates what we were talking about with the blues earlier. The blues are more blue when you get to this point in the season, right? Do you get it? How about those blues? Doesn't that make the whole point kind of come together? Beautiful, beautiful trees. That's in Seattle. How about those cones? Aren't those cones just going to get more and more dramatic, especially as the Japanese maple in the background starts to fade and go away? You're going to start appreciating this blue and these cones and this form and this texture even more as the days go by. How about that in fall? That red bud up there just doing her thing for fall, looking so gorgeous. She's about to drop everything and make that magnolia the superstar. Or how about that? This is the windswept look by Clairol. I love these pots. I mean, these pots add to the drama, right? These are all custom-made pots for the Des Moines Botanic Garden, another epically beautiful botanic garden. If you ever get the chance to go to Des Moines, I was blown away by how beautiful this garden is. It's absolutely gorgeous. But this just illustrates that fall and early winter look. So here we are at the garden where I have all the beautiful red pots. This client loves red. Red is her thing, as red is her happy place. Her house has no color at all. I would describe it as a Denver ski lodge meets English Tudor. So it's dark and brown and heavy and everything inside is a big show home. But she's got a lot of color outside and she lets me play. This is the same house. So the violet pot is down here on the right and this one in the center is violet, hippy dippy, trippy, obnoxious, but it's made a few magazine covers and I love it. But that gives you an overview of what foliage can look like for you year-round, celebrating the textures and the shapes and the drama and looking at things in new ways. So I hope you saw it a little bit like I do, and I hope you appreciate it and enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Oh, I have books to give away. If anybody wants a book, I've got a book. I've got 2 books to give away. Let's do it really fast. Okay, I'm going to give this to the first person who knows what the chapter headings were about when I was writing the last book. Yes, who was that? Food. All right, woman after my own heart. All right, let's give away foliage first now. Okay. Oh, this is going to be kind of a tough one, I think. I don't know. Let me see here. I got to make this good. I got to make it. Oh, yeah. Does anybody remember the big, or the, let's do this, the Pieris that I love that has more than one personality to it? Do you remember which Pieris that was? I mentioned 2. Yes, Little Heath. There you go. Thank you so much. Enjoy. You're welcome. I'll be signing books out there if you would like to join me.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank Christina for getting us inspired for spring. One other shout out I forgot to mention, Maypop. She mentioned it in her presentation. Tammy Boehm and the folks at Maypop, if you haven't been, it's in Webster Groves, a fantastic coffee and garden shop. They're the reason Christina is here today. Christina and Tammy go back a long way, and she's been admiring her work, suggested that we bring her to the garden, and has actually helped to bring us here. So a big shout out to Maypop and a big endorsement there because it's a fantastic place if you haven't been. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Totally forgot that. Control yourself. Take only what you need from them. A family of trees wanting to be haunted. Control yourself. Take only what you need from them. A family of trees wanting to be haunted. A family of trees wanting to be haunted. But it's sending me shivers. Baby is born, crying out for attention. The memories fade like looking through a fogged mirror. Decisions are made and now I know, but I thought this wouldn't hurt a lot. I guess not. Control yourself. Take only what you need from them. A family of trees wanting to
Saturday night in the summer, sundown and they all come out. Lamborghinis and they're renting hovers. The party's on, so they're heading downtown. Everybody's looking for a come up, and they wanna know what you're about. Me in the middle with the one I love. We're just trying to figure everything out.